I'd like to call the 12th meeting of the Mayor and City Council to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. DeWalt?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Mitchell? Mr. Sidnor?
Here.
President Smith?
Here.
Mayor Mo?
All right, moving on to agenda item number 3, approval of minutes for the work session on April 6th, the 9th meeting on April 11th, and the 10th meeting on April 25th, 2022. I'll entertain a motion.
And Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the work session on April the 6th, the 9th meeting on April the 11th, and the 10th meeting on April 25th.
All right, can I get a second?
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
President Smith?
Yes. All right, and moving on to agenda item number 4, report of the Mayor and City Council. I'll start with Councilman Sidnor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Pretty much, as we know, May is Mental Health Month. And I think as a community and a society, we don't put enough attention to mental health. I'm a veteran. Public say that I suffer from some mental health stuff based on the wars I've been in. And as we noticed, the mayor from Hyattsville committed suicide. And there's a lot of issues going on in our community with mental health. I just think in society, we just need to pay more attention to it because folks are really need some help out there. And insurance companies are not doing enough help. The public health department not doing enough help. So I don't know what we can do as a city government, but I think there's something that as a society, we need to pay more attention to that and not just promote it and say it's mental health month and do anything about it. I want to take a minute to always want to acknowledge the Laurel Police Department for the outstanding work they do. Situation happened over the weekend. One of the constituents in the neighborhood, she's been dealing with her juvenile daughter with some mental health issues, and she's pretty frustrated. And her daughter continues to leave home. And this weekend, her daughter left home, and the Laurel Police Department Detective Unit put a tracker on the phone and tracked the young lady to her apartment in Maryland City. Went out there, passing out flyers, pictures, and things of that nature. And the juvenile came back home. And the mother was concerned that juvenile might be involved in something, so it's trafficking. But detective interviewed the juvenile, assured the mother that based on her experience in the interview that she did with the juvenile, that's not happening. But the mother was very pleased with the work that the detective did over the weekend. And I think we just need to acknowledge Laurel Police Department for all the work they do, because a lot of stuff going on. And once again, this juvenile have some mental health conditions that her mother's trying to help her out as much as she possibly can. And we just don't want to see nothing happen to this young lady before it's too late. So hopefully that we can just pay more attention to what's going on in the world of society. Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman Sidnor. Moving on to Councilman DeWalt.
Good evening, everyone. On Saturday, along with the mayor, I attended the celebration at the American Legion Post 60 of Armed Forces Day. It's when we celebrate all 6 branches of the U.S. military. And it was down at Post 60, and the grounds of Post 60 are absolutely beautiful with a little help from the city. And I know that the veterans really appreciate that. We have somebody that's been going around on Main Street. Everyone knows about our fish planters that were put all along Main Street, mostly around the pool and mostly down by the train station. And it was a lot of hard work by the Arts Council, and somebody apparently up by the pool went and I think they eventually were able to steal one of the fish and vandalize another fish. The only other incident we've had so far was in front of PNC Bank, where they stole all the plants out of the planter. For what reason, I don't know. But if you see anybody around those fish planters, don't hesitate to call. I think it's just an isolated incident, and it's in an area where there's not a lot of people, especially when the pool's closed. And I also want to congratulate the Historic District for their attempts in saving our 250-year-old black walnut tree that's on Post Office Avenue. They voted no against removing the tree so that a developer could put 2 structures in a small little area and remove the tree. So far we still have our beautiful tree, and if you ever get a chance to go see it, it's absolutely gorgeous, and it was here long before the city was here. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman DeWalt. Councilman Cole.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to say that there's a lot of people here tonight, more than just what we normally see, empty chairs. It's really nice and refreshing to see people coming out to watch us. On May 14th, I attended the Laurel for Patuxent Invasive Species Talk down along the river. Also on the 14th, I attended the Lake Fest. I was worried that the weather forecast was not great, but it was a great turnout. I had a good time there. On Tuesday the 17th, I attended the Smithsonian Earth Optimism Youth and Action Leadership presentation, where I was a guest judge over at the CMIT High School on Schweitzer Lane. Last week on the 19th, we also had the first Pride Committee planning meeting. So there'll be more coming from that. We've made significant progress with just one meeting. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Cole. Councilman Mitchell.
Yes, so on May 8th, I was able to check out next door Mad Cow for the Mother's Day brunch. And there's a beautiful space there, and Chef Neville did a great job preparing the brunch buffet. On the 14th of May, like Councilmember Cole, I went to Lake Fest. I was happy to see the new additions with the rock wall and the foam pit. So it looks like the kids very much enjoyed that. On the 16th, I went to a town hall with Glenn Ivey, Councilmember Denoga, and Mayor Mo. That was a very good call. And on the 18th, I went to City Hall in the park. I enjoyed learning about some of the upgrades coming to Discovery Park. I know it's one of my kids' favorite parks, so when they saw it kind of tore up, I was like, hey, it's gonna be back, it's gonna be better. So that was the 18th. And then I just wanted to make an announcement. Next month, during Juneteenth weekend, I'm doing a expungement clinic to help people get some freedom on paper. So definitely watch out for the details. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Mitchell. And moving on to Mayor Mo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of things. Condolences to the family and friends of Warren Baker, longtime member of the community here. Wish him and his family and his friends condolences, as well as Robert Bobby Holmes, who is a member of the Laurel Volunteer Fire Department. Life member, actually Bobby had over 60 years of service, and he passed away, and services were held over the weekend as well. Also, just a couple quick get well wishes to Senator Chris Van Hollen, as well as to Laurel Thompson, who is a local electric company here in town that the city uses quite a bit. He's been a little bit under the weather. On May the 11th, we did attend the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments Board of Directors meetings and discussed again regional issues that are affecting all of us here, not only in Laurel, but as I said, the region in Virginia, D.C., and Maryland. Also attended the Prince George's County Municipal Association Board of Directors meeting, as well as the general meeting. And I want to thank the chief and his team. Appreciate the offer to come by and meet the Citizens Police Academy and speak with them. Again, I think that's a great opportunity for community members to get involved, learn about the police department and what they do. As well as I did attend the Lake Fest. On the 14th as well, we had the Laurel Volunteer Fire Department Life Member Dinner, and I attended that as well. And as you heard, we had our first City Hall in the park at Discovery Park there. The next will be in July. Just look for those information as it comes out. The Armed Forces Day ceremony, again, as you heard Councilman DeWalt say, very good ceremony. The commander and Legion Post 60 do many things in this community, and we appreciate all their work. And it was a little bit of a hot day, but we got through it. So, as well as I was able to attend the Eagle Scout Court of Honor for Caden D. Boone over and with the community center there. So I appreciate the invitation. We were able to recognize him for the work that he did on Riverfront Park. Yesterday, we had the opportunity to work with the American Legion Post 60, preparing for the Memorial Day service. So they placed all of their flags at Ivy Hill, out at the Ivy Hill Cemetery. So that's been taken care of, ready for Memorial Day. The joint Memorial Day service is going to be held on May the 29th at 11 a.m. at Ivy Hill. If there's weather is bad, they will move over to the council chambers here. And then on May the 30th is Memorial Day, and city offices will be closed. And Mr. President, I've got some proclamations on that. Made the font big enough for you. Proclamation 2216, whereas on June 1969, patriots and supporters of the Stonewall Inn in New York City staged an uprising and resisted harassment and discrimination and the practices against the laws and practices against lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ community. The riots and protesters 52 years ago marked the beginning of a modern LGBTQ plus movement. And whereas the LGBTQ Pride Month, we celebrate our progress and yet recognize that we still have work to be done. The LGBTQ plus people still face harassment, prejudice, health disparities, and lack of equal protection under the current state and federal laws. And whereas we proudly proclaim that the month of June as LGBTQ Pride Month in the city of Laurel and recognize those who fight for equality, inclusiveness, and justice. We recognize that youth, minority, and transgender people face great risk and adversity. All people should be able to openly and freely, without fear and harassment, prejudice, or discrimination. Now therefore I, Craig and Mo, the Mayor, City of Laurel, do hereby proclaim June 2022 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month in the City of Laurel. I'll ask Councilman Cole, since he's chair of the Pride Committee. Stop talking. Take a picture.
Thank you, Mayor. This proclamation is really important to a lot of the community here. It's important to feel recognized that everybody's included. Pride Month in the month of June is still separate from Pride Day. Our Pride Day will be in October, where our Pride Day will celebrate the history of LGBTQ plus community in Laurel. So that is a separate event from this. Thank you.
Proclamation 22-17, whereas every day more than 100 Americans are killed by gun violence, and on average there are more than 13,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas cities across the nation, including in the City of Laurel, are working to end senseless violence with evidence-based solution and protecting public safety in the City of Laurel, and that is one of the mayor's highest responsibilities. Whereas mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best, are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep citizens safe. And whereas gun violence prevention is more important than ever as COVID-19 pandemic continues to exacerbate gun violence after more than a year of increased gun sales, increased calls for suicide and domestic violences, and increase in city gun violence. And whereas on January 2013, there was a tragic individual shot and killed at the age of 15. And on June 3rd, 2022, to recognize her 25th birthday, people across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute to her and all of her victims. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of her friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose the color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas by wearing orange on June 13, 2022, Americans will raise awareness to gun violence, and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. Now, therefore, I, Craig and Mo, the Mayor of Laurel, do hereby proclaim June 3rd, 2022 as National Gun Awareness Day. Chief, you want to come up and accept this? As you can see, I'm wearing the pin today, but it's the Mayors Against Gun Violence, a program that the U.S. Congress.
Right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Gun violence is it is the most demanding issue that we face in policing today. We're not immune to it here in this community. We've seen an uptick in gun violence. We've taken, would offer record numbers of guns off the streets over the past year as compared to the past. Also, not just taking guns off the streets throughout this county, throughout this region, we're seeing gun violence spike. So figure a different way to handle your differences. Talk it out. Take a few moments, get away from each other if you're going to be led towards violence, because that's not going to settle anything. It's just going to make matters worse. So going forward, I'll pledge the efforts of the police department to continue to combat gun violence. If you're carrying a gun illegally, if you use a gun to hurt somebody, we're going to be there and we're going to take care of it. But let's put us out of business there. We got a lot of other things we can do besides that. So let's just walk away from it if you're going to go towards doing something like that. Thank you.
Proclamation 22-18, whereas on January the 1st, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, setting in motion the end of slavery in the United States. And whereas it was not until June 19, 1865, that it was announced to those Americans still enslaved in Texas, the people are informed that, in accordance with the proclamation, from the Executive of the United States of America, all slaves are free. And whereas June 19th is the oldest known public celebration to end slavery in the United States and it began in the southern part of the country before moving nationwide. And whereas June the 19th has a special meaning to African Americans, and it is called Juneteenth, combining the words of June and 19, and has been celebrated by African American communities for over 150 years. And whereas Juneteenth celebrates freedom for African American and recognizes the strides gained through determination, preservation, education, and greater opportunity. And whereas we acknowledge that the struggles for equality continues and that we recommit to continue the work to ensure that all of the City of Laurel residents, particularly residents of color, feel equally valued, equally protected, and have access to opportunity to help them thrive. And whereas the City of Laurel urges all citizens to acknowledge and observe June 19th in various ways, displaying Juneteenth yard signs, participate in community events, and posting of information through social media posts and to raise awareness of this historical event. Now, therefore, I, Craig M. Moe, the Mayor of the City of Laurel, do hereby proclaim June the 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth in the City of Laurel. As you know, the state passed it. We were about a year ahead. Councilman Sidnor brought that to the council, and in their wisdom supported that. So it was a holiday, and this is a first year for city employees as well. Keith, want to come up? Both Councilman Sidnor and our council president are on the planning committee for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I always like to say history is very important to us in our country. You know, we had an ugly history. I'll say that word, very ugly word, but it's the only way you can say the truth. But we have come a long ways. When we acknowledge our history, the beginning of the history, the true history of our country and our people, then we have to be a better nation. So until we do that, acknowledge us and forgive what we've done and move forward and put programs of equity in place for all American citizens that make us the greatest country in the world. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I hope you guys come out on June 19th to celebrate that and learn more about what Juneteenth is and continue to learn about history throughout the United States of America. Thank you.
Last proclamation is 22-19, whereas the medical condition known as HIV/AIDS is still a prominent national concern, with 50,000 new infections each year in the United States alone. 1,000 youth are diagnosed monthly with HIV, and whereas 1 in 7 individuals are unaware that they have HIV, that they are HIV positive, with a new HIV infection occurring every 10.5 minutes. And whereas the testing is critical to HIV prevention, getting tested and actively managing HIV through treatment can not only reduce mortality but improve quality of life. It also reduces the risk of personal spread of HIV from an infected person to their partner by 96%. And whereas due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Maryland Department of Health partnered with the Virginia Department of Health to expand the program, making tests available to citizens by visiting the following website. And whereas each year on June 27th, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, AIDS.gov, and other national and local entities across the United States organize National Testing Day. And now, therefore, I, Craig A. Moe, the Mayor of the City of Laurel, do hereby proclaim June 27th, 2022 as National HIV Testing Day. In the City of Laurel, encourage all residents to get tested, and let's stop HIV together.
I'll say a few words on this. When I first got elected to the council in 2017, put on a health fair. I had a health fair at the Montgomery Armory. And one of the vendors there was a lady named Sharon Croker Jennings. She's had a big old van in the back, and I was running around. She said, "Well, you're a council member. You should set the example and get tested." Oh, yeah, true. So I did. I went back and got tested, and so far I've been working with her every year, doing testing throughout Prince George County, volunteer with her. And we did some testing for turkeys in the barbershop. So she came out with a program. There's a barbershop here in Laurel, Main Street. You test, and they give you a turkey, things of that nature. So last year I asked the mayor to do a proclamation for her as well, and so something I guess we're gonna do every year now. So I accept this proclamation on Miss SLK Health Services, and so Ms. Jennings will be very proud that the city acknowledged this again, and hope people go out there on June 26th to test for HIV. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mary, you got everybody here? Now that the entire Blankenship family is here and present, we can go to this next one that I was going to lead off with, but what can I say? Okay. You want to start? You want me to? I'm going to ask Audrey to come up, and I have a citation on behalf of the mayor and city council. Mayoral citation presented to Mary Blankenship in recognition of your 12 years of outstanding and dedicated service to the city of Laurel and its citizens. Congratulations on your retirement and sincere thanks for the many years of loyal and devoted service to the city of Laurel. And it's signed by me as the mayor on behalf of the mayor and city council. Mary, you want to come up? Actually, Mary goes back even further. She is whole family's longtime residents of the city of Laurel and very involved in the fire service as well, many other things. And so the 12 years may have been when you got a check for something finally. Everything else was volunteer. So, did we give you a check? No, just kidding.
Am I supposed to?
Yeah. We're flat broke. Stay up. Come on up. Gary.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, gosh. For those watching at home that don't know me, I'm Communications Director Audrey Barnes, and I am also in charge of the Passport Office, and I've known Mary and worked with Mary for 8 years. Normally, when you get a letter from the State Department, it's bad news about an employee, but not for Mary. In her case, Mary has received several commendations over the years from the State Department for her excellent job in working with the fraud team. The most recent one we got, it began, Mary, you play a crucial role in maintaining the safety of U.S. borders, and we are grateful for your participation in the program. The really special letters, though, come from citizens who've come in to get passport over the years. There was one in particular that just touched my heart. I just want to share a little bit of it without giving too much information away. But the letter began that the subject line was, "Thank you for being kind and a listener." It begins, "I hope this email finds you well, and I hope you remember the conversation we had when I came to renew my passport and informed you of my wife's passing." He talks about what a comfort Mary was to him that day. The letter ends with him saying, "I just wanted to drop a few lines to tell you, thanks for listening to me and sharing your experience with me." That's Mary.
Well, the end of that
Yes.
story is
That's what Mary does.
He had 2 small children. I kept just doing it.
That's just one of the wonderful emails and letters that I've received about Mary. I got to make this short. Working with her the last 8 years, she treats people with kindness. She is a woman of such grace and poise. And as her retirement approached, she's just embraced training the new passport agents and getting everybody up to speed on running the passport office. And we are going to miss you so much. She's got little tiny feet, but she's leaving some really big shoes
Honestly,
to fill.
it's a hard
Yeah.
decision, really.
Yeah.
You know, I love the city. I've loved work.
Sorry.
But it's been, Oh, okay. I've known the mayor for years.
We're gonna let Brencis make his presentation.
I've known the mayor for years. My family loves him. Okay, I'll behave.
I just want to present this on behalf of the city council, the clerk's office. We appreciate you here. I didn't get to know you that close during the time interacting with you, but observing, walking by, always served with grace. People found you pleasant. I find you pleasant, and I'm going to miss you.
Thank you.
Right?
And I want to thank you for coming, sir.
Of course.
Of
course.
Thank you.
We're still praying for your.
Thank you.
It's all yours.
What?
All yours.
Okay. Well, it's very hard for me to leave. Craig knows that if there's anything that I can do for him, I'll be right there for him. Audrey, she knows if she needs passport help, I'll be there. I'll be whatever anybody else needs. So I'm not going to be far away. I'm going to be home with him. Oh, God, help me. But thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Can we get a group shot with the Blankenship family real quick? Come on,
Oh, God.
everyone want to be in just a group picture with the city council and Mary. After 13 years, we just felt like Mary just.
I only have 6 grandkids and a great granddaughter, and I think only 2 of the grandkids could make it in a quick. I'm a small one. It's okay.
Grandbaby in there.
Okay, Allie, you want to stand? Good girl. This is my. Not everybody, but I mean, look at me here.
Very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to the mayoral appointments of Ronald Peterson, Chair of the Juneteenth Celebration Committee, Sandra Choute, Vice Chair of the Juneteenth Celebration Committee, and Michele Keating, Pride Day Celebration Committee. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to the names you read on the record according to the mayor.
All
On the
right,
various committees.
can I get a second?
I'll second that, Mr. President.
Any discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
President Smith.
Yes. All right, moving on to agenda item number 6, the general public hearing. Madam Clerk, is there anyone signed up to speak?
You have the list right there, and we
All right.
one person signed up.
Yeah, we have Judge Carol Codier. All right, I'm going to open the public hearing at 6:32.
Got to hit the bottom switch until the green light comes on. You got to press down for.
There you go.
Where it says push. Oh, we don't. So good evening, members of the council, Mr. Mayor, and to everyone. I feel very bad having my back to I apologize for that. I'm very appreciative for these few minutes to come in and introduce myself. I had a wonderful conversation several weeks ago with the mayor and introduce myself because I am your most recent circuit court judge appointed. And as many people actually, as I've learned, don't know, once appointed to the bench after going through the application process, the vetting process, the interview process that I did last summer, I now have to sit in a contested election. Most folks don't realize that. We think about our president, we think about our senators, our county executive, but we don't think about our judges. So I am trying to do my level best to come out and get my face to as many of my neighbors as I possibly can, talk a little bit about myself. I've been in service to the county at this point, come July, 24 years. I started in the state's attorney's office July of 1998 as a domestic violence prosecutor. So many of the things that we've talked about so far today really struck me not only in my history in service to the county, but also the importance of maintaining a bench that has experience like I have, whether it's gun violence, whether it's equality, whether it's making sure that people know changes in the laws like June 19th and Juneteenth and the absence of that led to the necessity to have that knowledge and that thought, to all of the things that we really hold near and dear. Having an experienced judiciary is very, very important to that in order for us to be able to address justice in our community, in order to be able to make sure that there is equality of justice. Having the experience like I have is very, very important. There are several opponents in this case, in this election, but again, I have been heavily involved in litigation since 1998. I was in the state's attorney's office just over 20 years. In 2018, I switched to the Office of Law. When other jurisdictions heard that I was leaving the state's attorney's office, I started getting phone calls asking me to go to other counties as a prosecutor because of the reputation that I had of doing well and being vigilant in making sure that the law enforcement partners, for example, did what they were meant to do and holding them accountable when and if they didn't. But I didn't want to leave Prince George's County. So I was very, very thankful that I had the opportunity to shift into civil litigation, but stay in service to the county. Then when this opening came on the circuit court bench, I saw that as another opportunity for me to remain in service to Prince George's County, to the Prince George's County justice system. And I am very, very honored that both the nominating commission, the other bar associations who interviewed me, and then ultimately the governor found that I was the most qualified candidate of those who entered the process and appointed me. And I've been on the bench now since October. I have been working very, very hard. We are in the justice system because of COVID-19, thousands of cases behind. Criminal cases alone, I believe that we are about 1,800 cases in a backlog. And again, that points to the need to have an experienced judiciary. Because I have had large-scale civil trials, because I have had complex, high-profile criminal trials throughout my career, I am in a unique position to be able to now preside over those things and not have to learn completely on the fly like someone who doesn't have the background I would have to do. So with that, I do appreciate the time that you all have given me today. I thank you all very much for letting me introduce myself, for letting me introduce a little bit of my background. Of course, I am also very researchable. And as in any political race, I definitely encourage folks to do research on the judicial candidates. It is not difficult at all to find information about me, about the cases that I have prosecuted, because again, in the career that I had here in the state's attorney's office, I prosecuted many, if not most, of the most high profile and complex cases that we had during my tenure. So with that, I appreciate your time. Thank you so very much for giving it to me.
Thank you, Judge. All right. Well, since there's no one signed up to speak, I will close the public hearing at 6:37 p.m. Moving on to agenda item number 7, second public hearing with possible action on ordinance number 1998, an ordinance adopting the general operating budget and capital improvement program of the mayor and city council of Laurel, Maryland for the fiscal year July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, and to levy property taxes and to authorize the collection of such taxes. Director Saylor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mayor Mo, and council members. As we have discussed in the work sessions and at the previous meeting, we have a balanced budget of $38,715,938 for the general operating budget. We've reauthorized CIP funds of $14,183,286 and new project funding of $11,942,563. I would just like to take this opportunity to thank Corrine Kubak for the refresh she has done to our actual document. I want to thank all the department heads and their department staff that worked on the budget from their side. I want to thank the support of the Mayor's Budget Committee, Ms. Green, Mrs. Woods, under the leadership of Ms. Barr and Ms. Pulley, and of course, under the leadership of the Mayor to make this process as smooth as we possibly could. So I have no changes, and nothing additional to report at this time. Thank you.
Well, Madam Clerk, is there anyone signed to speak? All right, I'll open a public hearing at 6:39 p.m. and I'll close the public hearing at 6:39 p.m. I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve ordinance number ordinance 1998. Got to put the reading glasses back on.
All right, can I get a second?
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
All right, is there any discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
President Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Mo?
Could I let me make a couple comments regarding the budget process. As I say pretty much every year, not everybody gets everything they want, but I want to acknowledge and appreciate the council's input. And there was some disagreement. We sat down through the council president. We're able to work through those, and I appreciate your leadership and thank you for working with the administration on that as well. But that is a process we go through, and when we get up from this table, we continue to talk. There's not a lot of, I should say, there are many mayors and city councils that don't even talk, quite frankly, and I just think that says a lot about the current council, that we may have some disagreements, but we're able to always get up after the vote is taken and do what's right for the community. In this budget, again, this is part of the operating budget and the CIP. There is expanded recreational programs and as well as some musical programs. There's money in here for the multi-service center. And the other thing we added in here was a position, which we're calling right now a manager of the facility at 204, which will be our multi-service center. We have found that it's taking a lot of people's time up. It really needs to continue with the partnerships, and we're very hopeful with this funding, because of the council's actions tonight, we'll be able to find somebody and help move that and manage it and keep the communications open amongst all the different organizations. We have met the full requirements of the contract with the Fraternal Order of Police and with the administration, also the employee steps. We've also been able to, again, fully fund the retirement program as required by our actuary. So we've been able to do that every year. With the markets going as they are, we're going to need to continue to fund that as much as possible. We also have funding in this one for the Juneteenth program as well as Pride Day. And then if you look in the CIP, you'll see where a lot of money has really been put into infrastructure in the city, whether it's roads, curb and gutters, street lighting, and other things. So I think it's a well-rounded budget. I think it meets the city's needs for the next year. And I want to thank Ms. Saylor for all her work as well as her team's work, and Ms. Barr, who had the privilege of taking on this, working with finance this year. So, we've had a lot of changes and faces and different positions, but everybody pulled through. And most importantly, the department heads who work with the council and work with the administration on making sure that all the services were met and that they came up with programs that members of the council were looking for. So, Mr. President, I appreciate all your work, appreciate all the council members' work on this, and with that, I'll concur.
All right. Well, there being no further business to come before the mayor and city council, this meeting is adjourned.